He was saying that you guys had a discussion when you were on a recruiting trip back at Alabama, and he was hosting, and that what a small world it is that now you're right back in the same quarterback room.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that and joked around with it a little bit, just him being at Alabama and really before he took off too with his career and the amazing, obviously the national championship run he had and then getting drafted and everything. So it's pretty cool. Just we were both like just young kids, both heading into college, and then now here we are on the same team, man. It's pretty cool.
Your early impression of working with Lombardi and what he's brought to the room?
Yeah, man, Mick's been awesome. Just extremely competitive and just fiery in everything that he does. And for us in the quarterback room, a lot of times it's about making the right decisions and that kind of thing. But the way that he runs meetings and stuff, he's just on fire all the time. And when we get out in the field, you feel it too. And so it's been good, man. We love obviously just where he's been throughout his career, New England, and coming here. And it's just been really special, honestly, just picking his brain and how he coaches, man. We all love him and excited to go to battle with him this year. So.
What kind of off-season work did you do with Ricky and Jacob, and do you think that that's helped chemistry at this point?
Yeah, they came down to Jacksonville when we were training over there, and just working on the little details of routes and timing and where they're supposed to be, when they can expect the ball out of their breaks on certain routes. Obviously, that's such a huge thing with quarterbacks and receivers, and so I think starting that pretty early in the offseason, and then we translate that all the way over here to OTAs. We've definitely seen that, and I think Cowing's had a great OTAs so far, and getting in and out of cuts and being the first one to lead lines and show guys how routes are supposed to be ran. So he's taken a huge leap there, man. So really excited for him and his development, and so excited to keep throwing to him.
It looks like Cowing and Garendo look almost faster than last year, and you guys added Watkins as well. From your perspective, how does that change the job, knowing you have that much more speed with your weapons this year?
Yeah, man, they look good. They look fresh, healthy, like jumping off the line, getting in and out of cuts. Like you could feel them. And so for me, I'm extremely excited, obviously, to have guys that can push the limit, push the ball down the field. Obviously, if we get them in one-on-one situations with their speed, it's going to be tough for the defense to guard them. So for me, it's like really exciting. Obviously, you got George, Christian, you got our guys, but to see these young guys step up and pushing the envelope, man, pretty early in the offseason, it's been pretty special for me to see. So obviously, the more weapons that we can have, obviously the better. So going to continue to chip away with those guys, but they've definitely come in with the right attitude, right mindset this offseason so far, and I'm really excited to get into camp and the season with those guys.
Brock, what's it been like to work on just the chemistry with a guy like Demarcus Robinson, who's been around a while and kind of knows his way? How have you guys connected?
Yeah, Demarcus has been awesome, man. Just having that veteran receiver in that receiving core and the receiving room and showing those guys, sort of just what it's like to be a vet receiver. He's very smart. He's come in, he's learned the playbook, and not only that, like he's actually gone out every single day and just competed, man, and getting up and down with the ball and tracking the ball in and getting in and out of cuts as well. But you can just tell like he's a seasoned vet. He's been here, how certain routes are supposed to be ran, just being on top of everything, not really messing up. Like I feel like he's done a great job, and we're going to continue to learn each other and how he gets around and how I can get him the ball and so just lifting the meetings, all the things, like just seeing him in the locker room talking and stuff. You can just tell like he's been in the league for a while, so that's pretty special to have in this locker room, man, and especially for those young guys too. So he's a great leader, and I'm excited to go work with him.
From Jordan Watkins, the rookie in particular, it seems like he's getting some reps with the starters.
Yeah, he's balling, man. Jordan Watkins has been balling from day one. Really, he's come in and has done everything pretty right, and he's been on point. He's had a lot of explosive plays down the field, and obviously the short game, the intermediate. He's making plays all around. So I'm excited for him. Obviously, we know it's a process throughout this whole thing, from OTAs to the 40 days away to camp, and I know he knows that. But man, I'm really excited to keep working with him and for him to keep learning our offense and how we do things. But definitely a rookie that has popped out in front of everybody.
I know you're more focused on the team goals, but on a personal level, the last few days, taking the field, having accomplished that goal of getting the second contract in the NFL, is that set in for you?
I mean, I'm extremely grateful and appreciative of it, and getting it done, and it's for sure a big deal, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But for me, it's been every time I step on the field, my mindset hasn't changed. It's been I go out there, we got our plays for the day, and where I have to get better. You know, Coach Lombardi, Clay Kubiak, like they coach us hard in the quarterback room, and so when I step out in the field, I have to work on these fundamentals today. I have to go out there and be sharper than I was yesterday on a lot of things, and push the limit with other guys around me and help them get better. So, I mean, that's what I'm focusing on. It's not necessarily I step out in the field and I'm on my second contract now and it feels good, this and that. You'll get humbled really quick. So I just got to always remind myself of that and keep pushing myself in that way.
You got 1 week left in the off-season program. So these last couple months, what's been the one moment, either here on the field or meeting rooms or off campus, so to speak, where this team has had the bonding moment it needs to have?
Man, I think I want to say it was last week, we had some Navy SEALs come in and sort of just do this week of presentations and what it means to have a standard and a culture and all that. And I think just the events and things that we did with each other were pretty cool in the conversations that we've all had. Because, I mean, we're with guys that are on defense talking about what it means to be a Niner and, like, what it takes. And so I think that was a pretty special moment. But outside of that, man, just, like, the jokes and the locker room and the lifting and everyone's here, man. You know, like, I think all those moments you can't get enough, especially what we're about to go through in this journey and this challenge of a year. Like, it's going to be a special thing and a unique thing to be able to get guys that are, new come in and we got to roll together, man. We got to go through some things together. And so the last week was pretty cool, but, I mean, just all the little moments in the locker room and lifting. So.
The Navy SEAL stuff before, because they said they've done it a couple times, but have you taken part of that?
No, I wasn't here for that. So this is my first time going through it and just obviously hearing their stories and what it's like, being on a SEAL team unit and how that translates to us being a football team and doing stuff that's not ordinary and everything like that. So it was pretty special for me and eye-opening for sure.
How important is it for you to have that veteran leadership from guys like Jawad and DeMarcus, because your wide receivers room looks a little bit different than it did last year?
Yeah, it's huge. We got some young guys that are definitely going to need to step up and make plays for us, winning man-to-man matchups and play 17 games of good football and getting in and out of cuts and taking care of your body. Like, there's this whole thing that goes with playing in the NFL, and it's not easy. And so to have some vets like JJ, DeMarcus, obviously even Kittle and Christian, like those guys we can all help these young guys, especially in that receiving core, understand what it takes for the long haul and, what it's going to take game one, week one, training camp, all those things. And so obviously anytime you lose guys or it looks different, people will always ask, like, is it going to be the same or how, like, what is it going to look like? That's the challenge that we're going through right now, but I really do believe that we have the right guys and the right rookies and young guys that will make a big leap in the right steps for this team and for the quarterbacks, and vice versa, man. We're gonna continue to grow together, and but it's huge, man, having those guys that could continue to lead and show them the way. So I'm excited for this year.
Mick Lombardi's dad obviously was with a few teams. As an executive, your coach, Kyle, who his dad is. Brian Greasy, who his dad is. Kubiak's, can you tell that these guys, when you first meet them, have this just wealth of information that comes from absorbing football from a young age?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, they've been through it at such a young age, being around it, growing up, from being ball boys to GAs or whatever, and like just working their way up and being around so much football. And a lot of the concepts that, they teach have come from obviously like their dads and, the Niners back in the 90s when Mike Shanahan was here, to the Broncos, to here, like there's things that have sort of like, stayed within this whole process. And so to be able to learn from them and those lessons, for me, like as a quarterback, I'm always like itching to ask questions and what it was like and how they coached back then and what's the same, what's different. So it just gives us a good perspective on a lot of things revolving around football. And obviously Mick, like I said, coming from New England and him being around Brady and Josh McDaniel's system and Belichick, like it's pretty cool, to be able to have like all these different kind of perspectives and what works, what hasn't worked for them. And it's a lot of successful people, in the building being able and willing to teach you what they've learned. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And I know all the quarterbacks in the room are too, but extremely grateful that, we have so much football knowledge in general. So.
What you're going to miss about having Greasy around? I realize it's natural to look forward with the coaches currently on staff, but anything that stands out from your time working with him and his impact?
Yeah, obviously just, him playing the game, and being in certain situations, he was always teaching me, like, in certain moments and on the sideline, like we'd be mid-drive and a penalty or a timeout or something would happen. We'd go over and, Greasy was so good at just, hey, in this moment, be ready for this. Or with the ball, this is the clock situation. Let's take care of it. And if it's not there, do this. Like, he was very good at those moments in situational football and stuff because he played the position, which is really, really cool. And I was extremely grateful for that. But like I've said, like before, this is part of the business where, coaches leave or things happen and you got a new coach come in, you got to learn from them and what their strengths are. So that's where we're at. Extremely fired up to work with Mick, but extremely grateful for what Greasy's done for me in my career.
I have a personal question when it comes to looking at the fact that you and Mac had history in college, and then now you're playing next to each other, going from Mr. Irrelevant to now having your contract and seeing what it means to be resilient and where that can take you. Do you think back on those moments to help fuel you to go into a season like next season, after a season like last season, to give you a reason to stay resilient and a motivation to know that something better can come?
Yeah, I think every single year it's like that. Even after we lost the Super Bowl, like last year's mindset was definitely, hey man, I got to get better. And things happen throughout the season, yes. But every single season, no matter what, for me at least, it's always been, I got to sink back into my fundamentals. I have to be on top of my stuff. There's moments in games where, I put my head on my pillow and it's like I run through what I could have done better, what I did do good, and need to continue to build off of. But I think at the end of the day for me, like with my story, obviously I was drafted last and having that chip on my shoulder to, when I first showed up here, like trying to prove to my teammates here and everybody here that I belonged and that I could do what it takes here. And from that moment, like I feel like I proved to myself that I could play here. And I can't lose that. And I've had to learn, throughout the last 3 years, there's been moments where that slowly it shifted at some points, but the moments that I go back to having that chip on my shoulder, that's when I play my best football. So that's what I have to sink back to, every single game, every single moment.